All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to today's class topic. I hope that everybody's doing good. So, we'll just go straight into it. Today, we'll be discussing a little bit about selfishness and spiritual life and why we can't really mix them. It doesn't really work. So, for today's topic, we'll just go into part one and we'll focus mostly on how this plays out in our spiritual relationships. So, why selfishness doesn't actually work in spiritual relationships. Alrighty. So, looking at it in a broad sense, we can understand that actually there cannot be peace in any society when people are competing for sense gratification. So, what does that actually mean? Is that when people are competing as opposed to just taking what they need and considering the needs of others to work in a harmonious way and in a mood of service, then there cannot be peace. And if we look at it on a grand scale, we can see like that's what's happening in the world in so many ways. That people are competing for resources nationally, and that's a lot of the reason that we have some wars going on. So that's just a little bit on that. What do I mean when I say service? So service is love. Service is how love expresses itself. And it's, service is an effort on someone else's behalf for someone or for someone else. Service is giving, service is helping or doing work for someone else. And that's actually our natural state. So when we're in line with that, then our relationships will also be more spiritual and more harmonious and more blissful. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. I'm just going to keep it really simple for this. Relationships also involve, spiritual relationships also involve, all relationships involve giving and receiving. And what we have to understand about that is, what are, like, for example, it's not just about giving someone something, open and truthful communication. That is a service. That is definitely a service because it's not easy. And you're doing that for the benefit and the well-being of yourself and of the other person. Gifting is a service, definitely. Assisting in someone's emotional well-being, assisting in someone's, mental well-being, assisting in someone's spiritual well-being, that's a service. Assisting in someone's health, when they can't really manage on their own, and you can manage to assist. It's within your capacity. Assisting, in advising and guiding, all of these kinds of well-beings of other people is also a service. That's a very loving service that we can find in healthy relationships. Assisting in work, assisting someone in their work, it's also a form of an expression of service in a healthy spiritual relationship. Doing fun activities to make them happy or relieved or uplifted is also a service. I'm sure we can think of a lot of those kinds of examples. Speaking their glories is a service. Speaking someone's glories is a service. So you're speaking well about someone, and that might not be to their face, but that might be behind their back to other people and to places where it matters that it could also help them. Praying for them and sending good energy is a service. So I think we get a little bit of an idea here, what I mean when I say service. And that's really the quality that makes a relationship spiritual, is when you really put yourself in the consciousness of like, what am I giving? How can I give to this? And when and that's, those are acts of love, actually, and that's what makes it spiritual. Receiving is also how do we receive? Receiving what someone gives lovingly, in attention, in words, in time, in the way that they offer assistance, in the way that they offer gifts, efforts, even materially. That's also a service to receive things. It also takes humility and gratitude. um, and it's a little bit vulnerable, actually. Adapting to Okay, adapting to someone else's capacities for giving is also a service which should be done with a reasonable amount of care, like self-care. Receiving when it does negative to the giver in a way that's not good for them is selfish, and that is not a service. So we can't just point the finger if someone is kind of, in that state of being. Definitely, there's some responsibility on your part to identify that and act in an according way for their well-being. Because actually, if something like that is happening, there are so many effects that you don't even think about that could be produced for that person. It could be conditioning them, if they just get into that habit of doing it in that wrong state of mind, into, materialistic, like a very materialistic state of mind, or very sexual or selfish on your side or their side. Excuse me. I just had to answer that. And spiritually numbing ways of giving. So it could be conditioning them into spiritually numbing ways of giving. It could be conditioning them into materialistic ways of giving. It could be conditioning them into unhealthily sexually ways of giving. Or it could be selfish on your side or their side, the reason that they're actually giving or that you're actually receiving. If it's having a negative impact on them, especially in a conscious and a spiritual way. So that's something to also be aware of. It's kind of obvious. Um, Not being receptive to what is good for you is also very toxic in any kind of healthy relationship. I mean, that could be even just between you and your boss, and they need to give you constructive feedback, and you just have this ego. You need to be able to receive it in, or even just, love and attention from healthy people. We sometimes, when people are depressed, they kind of just want to block out everybody and everything. Um, and maybe have attachments to like negative people and negative energies that they just relate to, that they actually relate to. And they block out what's good for them. They block out receiving what people send them, what's good for them as well, because it's too much. But actually, that's toxic. And if you have a relationship like that with someone, then you also should be aware, how it's going to affect you. It's not healthy to get conditioned into not having that good quality of being able to give help and assistance and affection to someone who needs it when they're rejecting it and they shouldn't be. So, how do we identify what is a selfish relationship? So, for example, if we see traits of envy and enviousness, so someone might see someone else as like a supply, you know, they're a supply or like a tool for improving their reputation, uh, or they want something that that person has. And for that reason, they're trying to have a relationship with that person. But those are envious motivations. So that is selfish. That is a selfish motivation for a relationship. Uh, Sometimes people are just looking for their lust to be fulfilled. So that is why they're trying to bond or create relationships or stay in certain relationships. That is selfish. Looking for a tick box personality. So you want a tick box partner, for example, and they have to have all of these qualities on your checklist. That's really selfish. It could be, it's your friend or a friend or whatever. It's not just like in a conjugal way, but definitely we should learn to have that quality to love and appreciate people for who they are, and like be excited to meet people and all the different aspects of them that come out, as opposed to going like, yeah, this person does or doesn't fit my tick box, you know because that's very judgmental, and it's very kind of degrading and critical to people in your association if you kind of think that everybody has to be in a way that suits you or your ideals, as opposed to learning how to meet unique individual souls and adapt with them and draw healthy boundaries when you meet sides of them that are like, whoa, I don't know how to handle that. And appreciate other qualities of them that, sometimes when people irritate us, actually, usually it shows us a part of ourselves that we need to make growth in. So we need to have that humility to be able to like accept and learn how to love and accept people, um, but still know what's a healthy amount of interaction and engagement have adverse effects on us. But there'll always be a certain degree of that comes, that's unavoidable. So some people would very much judge the other person that they're considering, um, when they do something that's like out of their own norm or liking, instead of appreciating them as they are. So that judgmental quality is also a selfish trait. It blocks our ability to raise the level, the quality of that relationship to a spiritual one. Uh, some people get angry when they don't get what they want. Um, when that person doesn't give them what they want, that could also be a selfish. It could be. There are some instances where it's not. You consider it deeply, but generally there's like hot, quick anger. When you don't get your way. I think that's pretty obvious. When it's based on sex life, so if it's just a sexual attraction and sexual kind of relationship, then usually that is a selfish intention. It's hard for that to come on a spiritual platform, believe it or not, even though that's kind of the basis of most people's, especially conjugal relationships in the world today. You don't care about their well-being. So if someone doesn't care about your well-being, or you even feel like that, you don't really care about someone's well-being, then definitely the motivations, if you actually investigate them, they're probably going to be selfish. You aren't thinking of how to nourish their lives, or they aren't thinking of how to nourish your life. So it's like when you really appreciate someone and you care about them and you love them, then you're thinking about like the difficult things that they're going through, and you're thinking about the opportunities that they need created in their life, and the ways in which that they can grow and step up and get good opportunities and have better association, that you can protect them, that you can assist them and guide them. And I mean, that's kind of normal. So if that isn't there, then we need to reassess. Thinking, you get irritated. They get irritated when you ask them to do stuff, or you get irritated when they ask you to do stuff. Like you're just not in a mood of service to someone. You just don't want to be their servant. You don't want to do something for them, anything. So if irritation kind of flares up at that point, then we really have to assess what is the essence, what is the foundation, what is the motivation, what's the relationship, what's going on. So yeah, I mean, even if it's your authority, like your boss or something, and you're asking like them to explain something or assist you with something, and they get irritated, then it's like they're not really in the mood of a servant. They're not a leader to facilitate you and to assist you in your work, which is what a leader should be, or a manager should be, not just a controlling authority, but someone that's actually in a mood of service, a servant leader. All right, so and if we go into a little bit more like us of the study, like studies, studies which have been conducted, we can also see that people that don't take any responsibility, so that don't want to take any responsibility in a relationship, then it's definitely a selfish relationship. Avoid compromising. People that avoid compromising, obviously within reasonable amounts. It's not like people have to go too far to compromise, depending on time, place, and circumstance, and the conditions that are prevalent in people's varying capacities. But if someone just totally always avoids compromise, then you can imagine how that just doesn't feel right. Ignoring another person's needs. So yeah, ignoring another person's needs is very troubling. That's pretty troubling. Doesn't know your interests and passions. No interest in you as a unique individual. uh, doesn't apologize, yeah, if people can't have that empathy and compassion to apologize when they do something wrong, it's definitely selfishly motivated because of what an apology does for somebody. It's very healthy and it's very needed sometimes, and sometimes people can move on from that. So yeah, I've discussed that in a previous class about apology, effective apologizing and effective lack of apology, which you can also go and check up a little bit deeper. It might seem like something small and trivial, but it can really, really, really have a profound impact. So yeah, in general, when we just look at that adverse side of things, selfishness in it just it's all about competition and exploitation for sense gratification of resources, of people, of spaces, of things. How can I get more for me, and what can I use to get what I want for my material or inconsiderate happiness. So those are definitely things that can't mix with a spiritual attitude because they are adverse. They are like literally going in the opposite direction. And because we're souls, in this body, and the soul is its intrinsic nature is in a mood of service. So when we're cultivating an attitude or a conditioning or mindset of selfishness, it's literally going to bring us into our conditioned state. It's literally going to bring us out of our spiritual consciousness and put us out of contact with our soul. So that is definitely not healthy. There are healthy expectations that a person can have in receiving and in reciprocation in any healthy relationship. So there is this very popular saying that says, have no expectations and then you'll be happy. And actually, a lot of Buddhist philosophy is also like that. But that is not always healthy at all. And that can condition people into very unhealthy states of mind. And people can even develop mental health disorders from having no expectations in relationships. I mean, it depends who with, but definitely we need to know what healthy and unhealthy standards are, because you might not realize it while it's happening, but in the long term, you'll end up with these social disorders and these bad conditionings and troubles. So, for example, let's say, does someone show care and interest in your life, and that they want things to go well for you in your life, and that they help you where they can? You know, I mean, if this person is a person that you're in a relationship with, is friendship, parental, conjugal, whatever, it's not really natural if someone doesn't really show care and interest in your life, and that they want things to go well for you. If they don't want things to go well for you, then like avoid it. Obviously, that doesn't seem like it's going to go well. Do they respect your boundaries? So that's also a healthy expectation to have, is someone who respects your boundaries, because your boundaries are in place for your mental, physical, emotional, psychological, and social well-being, you know? So people that don't respect your boundaries are usually in an exploitative state of mind or something like that. Or they have some social disorders like narcissism, whatever. So be very careful. Um, Expectations, healthy expectations, especially for those that you keep close and that you spend a lot of time with, are they compatible with you in spiritual activities? That's important. Otherwise you're going to be discouraged. Otherwise you're going to feel uncomfortable. Otherwise there's going to be a weird rift, and you're not going to be inspired to keep growing and nourishing those most important and growing and nourishing things that it's your it's your right in a human body. It's your birthright. It's your blessing in this human body, your biggest blessing. So you don't want to do anything that's gonna take that away from you. Do they genuinely love and appreciate you as a unique and entertaining person? Like when I say entertaining, like they just love you as your personality, without trying to make you into something that they lust or that you're not, you know? So it's not like you're just this uh, person that's just a position to fulfill someone's desires. And so they want you to be more like that, what they want. But actually, it's about you and how much they love you, you know? Not that you're just a tool to fulfill what they want, actually. Um, I mean, sometimes, unless, there are sometimes when some people have really bad traits and really bad qualities or conditionings, and you have someone that is a well wisher and they really want, you know, they want you to control that negative quality or reduce it or try get rid of it for your own well-being, then that's okay. That's different. That's still care. That's still love, because it's coming from a place of service. It's coming from for your well-being, not to adjust to what I want and my lusty imagination of what it should be. So yeah, think about those things definitely, because some of us are just conditioned into thinking these kinds of things are normal, but they're actually creating damage for us. So do they sincerely wish well for you? So that's also a healthy expectation to have in any close relationship or any functional relationship. um that someone is your well wisher. They want you to do well. They're wishing the best for you, even when you guys are fighting or disagreeing or forget about each other. um Healthy expectation that, okay, we're going to go back here, because it, like, actually people don't understand how broad envy is, like what envy actually is. They just think it means someone wants what they have, but it's much greater than that. And someone can be envious of you and not even be consciously aware of it, you know. And I went through this phase, like I went through this part of my life where I was like, okay, let me assess all of my relationships right now and see if there is any envy I actually have of the people that I think I love and that I call my friends or something else in my life. And I like just subtly journaled and really went through it deeply. Like, is there anything that I'm actually envious of in this person? And we can feel that sometimes also. We might think someone's our friend, but there's certain things we can look for to know actually if this person is actually envious of us, and that's why they're trying to befriend us, but then they're not really a friend. Envy is like, it's so complicated. As I said before, someone sees you as a supply, so they see you as like a source of something that they want, or something to use to improve their reputation, or you have something that they want, and so for that reason they're befriending you. It's not really about you and their affection and their appreciation for you. Additionally, it could be someone who wants to always steal your spotlight, like, it's your turn, you need this now, this moment, you need this promotion, you need this recognition for this great service or attitude or skill that you have. And someone's always rocking up in front of you, like to take that glory or take that opportunity, because you kind of grant them access to that, or they just see that you have it and they prefer to get the recognition for that, because maybe you're just a soft spot or an easy spot that they can get it in front of. Sometimes people that are envious bring themselves to you in relationship for want of things that belong to you, so that's the one we kind of think is pretty obvious. Or a reputation with things that you bring them access to. And sometimes people just want to render you invisible, and you can't even understand the motivation, but they don't want people to recognize you or see you or notice you or appreciate you. They just want you to not be known or seen, and they make efforts towards that. That is an envious person. I think this happens even like on a stupid scale, like on a subtle scale, like with groups of girls as well, like when they're all together and some kind of male species walks by, and there is something that happens in like this group's female psychology where like they will just try and render any kind of threat to that potential interaction invisible. So it's quality of the mode of passion as well. um this is kind of like a psychology that I don't know. I don't get it very well. I don't get it very much, but I've seen it happens a lot. Even when it's completely unnecessary to happen, like that species isn't even available, or a quality person. but the girls are conditioned like subconsciously or like animalistically in this way. I don't know how it happens with men. I wonder if it does, but I think they're more actively like competing for attention actively, as opposed to like having to passively put someone down and back. So stay away from envious people. Please trust me on that. It's not a negotiable factor in any close relationship. Even if it's not directed towards you, but you are, entertaining a relationship with somebody that is very actively envious to other people, then, or even just one other person, like just stay away from those kinds of people, definitely, please, because those things are going to subconsciously from that person and in you come back to you and bring negative energy towards you and condition you in very bad ways for yourself. So it can even condition narcissists. Maintaining envious relationships can literally condition narcissists. Camilla Rodriguez. So yeah. Hey Sevika,
Hi, Krishna.
how are you doing?
I am doing okay, managing.
Oh my
Thank
gosh, that's a
you.
lot going on for you.
I know.
Welcome. So thank you for joining and popping in. So as you know, I was discussing today this topic just a little bit about how selfishness in relationships is just in spiritual relationships is not a functional trait or quality, and it kind of just they're two adverse things. They don't really cooperate or work well with each other. So yeah,
Okay.
I'll just say a little bit on like what I was reading, and then if you have something to say or add, like please feel free to.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so where was I? And so now in this list, I'm discussing just healthy expectations and for receiving and reciprocation in any kind of healthy relationship. And before that, I was saying, just definitely stay away from envious people, because even sometimes we just try to tolerate relationships with people that are envious in some way or the other, but it doesn't work. And it actually psychologically, it can condition people to become conditioned narcissists. So we don't want to go down that road. And also something to be aware of, is if someone has a higher than thou attitude towards you, that can also be a very narcissistic trait and something that we don't really want to keep that close or not get rid of it or just distance ourselves from that. Um, and additionally, in more studies and research, some basic things that are healthy expectations in a spiritual relationship or a healthy relationship are, mutual respect, honesty, mutual honesty, honesty from both parties, healthy communication. You can have that expectation. You can say like, I'm just not satisfied with this level of us not having healthy communication. Can we make efforts to get it there? Because like communication is the foundation of so many things, and if that isn't there, then I don't know how things can transfer really in a healthy way. Equal commitment, so equal levels of commitment, that's also pretty important. Yeah, sometimes people have grown up in families or relationships where they were kind of trained or forced to not have that expectation, and that's unfortunate, and so they go into relationships with that and they experience a lot of troubles. But to people's varying capacities, an equal level of commitment is definitely going to make you feel secure and steady and safe, you know in a relationship. So quality time, you can expect to have some quality time. Support and empathy, that's normal. You shouldn't even have to expect it, but it should be there naturally. It comes from loving and appreciating someone. Appreciation, you don't want to feel like someone really never ever appreciates you. Then it's really, you'll start to think in your mind like, what is this relationship actually based on? if there's no natural sense of appreciation for your presence in their life. And you should also think it's healthy. You can have the expectation that we can have our own individual needs as well. You know, we don't have to everything be plugged together or everything yours or everything mine. But people can have individual needs. Like some people, I need space sometimes, or I need to be able to do this like this sometimes, and that's okay. You know, I don't know if you have anything to add or comment on that, dear Sevika.
This no, it makes a lot of sense. I'm just absorbing right now what you're
Okay,
saying, and I agree with you.
cool.
Definitely things like trust, communication, absolutely is important. Um, yeah, so I agree so far with you.
Yeah.
Everything.
I guess yeah, it's pretty basic, but sometimes people just need a refresher, you know?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the communication just isn't there, and then it can get frustrating, you know?
Yeah, it will get frustrating, exactly. So yeah, our expectations that however they should be realistic, you know. We have to let people be human and let them be flawed. That's okay. You know, people there's going to be a level of dislike and irritation that comes with like every single relationship because everybody is not perfect. But we have to know, you must know what's good for you soulfully and what will destroy you soulfully, and accept or limit or reject, you know, relationships based on that. And sometimes it's just about limiting and drawing healthy boundaries, and you know, energy exchange is happening where, you know, both are benefiting still or it's neutral still. um so yeah, uh focus on what's really important in every single relationship and have realistic expectations, not too much. And you know, so overall, you know, being in a genuine and loving mood of service, and you know, adjusting your service and the way that you show your love and your affection to someone, to their well-being, um is very important, and that it's coming from a genuine loving mood. And you know, for them to feel, it will also help them to feel lovingly safe to serve you back. Like it's not expectation, but like it's a sincere desire. And you know, like you can always imagine a healthy relationship with this mood of like we're competing to serve each other, you know. It's like, no, I'll get it
Mhm.
for you, no, I'll get it for you, no, you know. And you're just like that, those are the best feelings, those are the best feeling relationships, you
Yeah.
know. So that's a nice ideal to look up to. um I would say in more of the studies that I read also, every healthy relationship involves willingness to compromise from both ends. So if one person's too stuck, there can be challenges. And some people, it's hard for them to learn compromise, maybe from previous traumas or things that they learned, lessons that they learned. But according to the people, it's very time, place, and circumstance how compromise happens, you know? There's no like standard thing about it. It's very personal. But there must be a willingness to compromise. That's a healthy thing. Um, some people also really struggle to receive expressions of love, and you know, like compliments or assistance from people. um that should be softened ideally. uh Receiving love is important as well, and being able to receive love, because it's, we live in a world where it's like it's not a common thing, and you know, it causes so many issues psychologically, physiologically, socially. So it's not just about becoming a generous and a giving person, but also knowing how to receive, and that encourages people when you receive in a healthy way. So when people are giving expressions of love, know how to receive them healthily, and that they're still respecting the way in which that you can receive love. um, you can take it gratefully. You don't have to deflect it and be rude about it, and you know, pass the on, like if it's a compliment, still pass the honors on, you know. This is, yeah, it doesn't all come from me, it comes from etc etc. But not to be like fakely humble, because that fake humility, which is like too much of a hard rejection, or no, I'm just the worst or something like that. I have a really big problem with that, and I think it causes a lot of mental disorders for people. So
Mhm.
yeah, Active listening is also a service. Active listening, and just actually not constantly feeling like you need to project energy onto people sometimes, but receiving and hearing and understanding where they're coming from. Um, so yeah, my personal guru, Kadama Kanana Swami, he also says that if we don't become enlivened in devotional service, it's because we are selfish. So sometimes we're doing something also to be glorified, and we're doing it for the recognition of doing that. But that is wrong. That is the wrong motivation to be doing devotional service or doing someone a service. Doing service will take the selfishness out of us and enliven us and the things that we are doing. So these are some of his beautiful wise words. If we don't become enlivened in devotional service, it's because we're selfish. And doing service will take the selfishness out of us and enliven us and enliven the things that we are doing. Do you want to say anything on that, Devika?
Um, I was thinking more so like, well, this is nice that you brought the service attitude in, and it helps to make us more selfless. Um, we understand that human beings are fallible. We have faults. So, in a relationship and friendships, we have to remember that, there are chances and possibilities of getting ourselves hurt, our feelings, you know, um, especially when there are things like miscommunications and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, this question was brought up to me like a week ago. What makes you feel like safe in a relationship or like a friendship? So, I was thinking this aspect. What would you say to that?
That's such a nice question, because that can also put us in an active mood of service. I would say definitely honesty and trustworthiness. Those two qualities make me feel safe in a relationship, because and also when someone has a merciful or a compassionate attitude, because then I know that I can work through things with those people. I know those people won't judge me. I know those people will also sincerely help me by their honesty and by their compassion. So, and being able to trust someone, of course, is a big facet of, I think, of feeling safe, with someone. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
What about
Okay.
you?
Thank you. Yeah, I would also say definitely trust is important because when you're in a space and with friends and whatnot, you want to be able to express yourself genuinely and have real conversations and,
Yeah,
and to be ourselves. So you want to be able to feel safe and trust everyone so that you can open up and you can share what your heart wants to share and you can be yourself without people, you know, just judging you and maybe even attacking you and, making you feel like
yeah,
vulnerable and hurt. So having and then also what's important, what I understood recently, like if you're having conversations, with your friends and whatnot, like you want to be a good listener, as you mentioned, and you want to listen not just to make comments back, but you actually want to hear what that person is speaking about and
yeah,
what is coming from their heart. What are they actually trying to tell you? So for me, this is important too, to actually
yeah,
understand where they're coming from. So being a good listener is very important in a safe relationship.
definitely. That's really nice. Thank you for bringing that forward. That's so important. Because
Yeah.
when people don't feel safe, actually, it creates so much distancing between two people. So that intimacy that comes from that feeling safe and learning how to make people feel safe is so valuable. People can really blossom in our association with that. So I really like
Yeah,
it. Thank you.
no problem.
Our guru was like that. So additionally, like this is just the last part that I have to say to this topic, but Prabhupada also, Srila Prabhupada, who is the founder of like, Bhakti Yoga and bringing Bhakti Yoga into the West and how we practice it, how we have access to it. Um, he would always say and lead by example that genuine love and compassion, genuine love and compassion is the foundation of spiritual relationships. And that requires putting others' interests before our own. So I really like that because he just gives it like boom, boom, boom. It must be the foundation. It should be genuine. It should be love and compassion. And therefore, that's just the base for a spiritual platform and putting others' interests before our own. And that also requires trust to be able to put others' interests before our own. That will also be safe, that will also be taken care of, and that we can also have that reciprocation in other relationships from people that also comes like that. But when we're able to do that just for people, it's so easy for them to feel safe to reciprocate like that with us. He also used to say that, in one sense, that selfishness prevents genuine relationships. It prevents genuine service. Selfishness prevents pure service, the service that's got nothing about what I'm going to get out of it. And because, it's just focused on personal benefit. So that mood of service won't be pure. There are so many states over the earth quarreling because of ideological differences and other selfish motives. So, this quality of taking selfishness out of relationships can really bring a great sense of harmony and cooperation and enthusiasm where we can rise above just what's going on here and actually start working on goals and bigger things together. So, I think it's a really nice uh, thing to meditate on, reflect on in our relationships, and just go over everything again and just nourish and clean things out and bring them up to a better level. Yeah, I don't know if you have anything else that you wanted to think about or say or add or comment.
In terms of relationships, again, and friendships, um, so we understand that, we're all human beings and we make mistakes, and these things, they happen sometime or the other. Like, Bob Marley had said, everyone in your life that you meet will hurt you. It's just a matter of choosing which hurt is worth it.
Yeah.
And that all just shows, it's just showing that humans are going to make mistakes because, you know, we're not perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, Guru Maharaj is perfect, and our spiritual teachers, and of course these are different, but like our day to day life and our family and friends, it's expected that sometime or the other they may hurt you. So now my question is, what makes the relationship worth it and worth the hurt that may occur in the future, whether it's mild, or what happens? What makes that relationship worth it? What makes the friendship worth it?
Yeah. Well, it people will have different goals in mind, but I think we should always think about, what's going to be good for us on a soulful and a spiritual level. That means, you know, that we're always in a state where we are improving or maintaining our access to being in a loving and a compassionate state of mind where we're thinking about ourselves on a spiritual level, that we're able to do things which spiritually nourish us, and we're contemplating God, and that we're feeling enthused and safe and secure to do that in our relationships. So if I do something wrong and I cause pain to somebody, I take responsibility for it. And I think that shows that this is a relationship which can be maintained, which can be worked on, which efforts can be made in, because it acknowledges, as you said, that factor that, we are flawed and we're going to make mistakes and sometimes we're going to hurt each other, but take responsibility for it when it does happen. Because if
Mm.
someone takes responsibility when they hurt me, I know that they're acknowledging that they're going to work on it and they're going to try to not do it again. But when someone avoids taking responsibility for the pain that they cause others or the difficulty that they cause others, even if they're not trying to and it's an adverse effect, or, even if they don't believe it, they don't think it's coming from them or something,
Mhm.
um, even if it's because they're struggling so much and they're trying not to, but it's still having that effect on you. Sometimes that happens as well. But just being conscious and sensitive shows that you actually care about someone's well being and that you're their well wisher. And if you're their well wisher, then you'll take responsibility. Because for me, when someone takes responsibility, it's endearing. I feel so much love to a person that is not just perfect, but someone that makes mistakes and then apologizes and then wants to make up for it, because it's so personal and it's so natural and it's so relatable. But if there's no responsibility taken, then it's a bit worrying because they're not uh going to try to avoid doing that to you again, and especially if it really is having a negative impact on your soulful well-being, then I would say now's the time to start putting healthy boundaries in place, limiting the relationship to where there is some mutual, where how it can exist with mutual benefit still, or even if you can be neutral and they can still benefit, or vice versa. Or if it's both going to be de-beneficial, I don't know what the word is in English, for both sides, then to create a healthy distance and maybe look at, replacing that relationship, or suggesting them other people that can nourish them and help them with their challenges, and protecting your energy. Yeah.
Wow, nicely said. Thank you for that. I agree also.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah, because I mean, we're all learning and growing together, and mistakes are bound to happen sometime or the
Yeah,
other. Of course, we're trying to avoid them. But yeah, if we do take the responsibility and we learn how to handle this, and obviously it's important to learn from all of these mistakes,
yeah, exactly.
and yeah, and we have to be mindful of each other.
Yeah, consideration, definitely. Do you have anything else on your mind, or?
Um, no, that's about it for now.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming, and thank you for sharing your reflections and your thoughts. It definitely nourishes the relatability and the quality of what people receive by this, because it's quite a basic topic, but I think it's so nice to even refresh sometimes on these basic things, because we just get so conditioned in the relationships that we have in our life, and we get so used to compromising and not even thinking about them. But it's so easy sometimes just to make little bit of healthy adjustments, and people can both feel a lot of nourishment and topping up coming from that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's very important, actually, these kinds of topics to discuss on a daily basis because we forget like communication is key, and we should be able to open up our hearts and speak and say how we feel, and we should be, safe and like in a safe environment to do so. So
yeah,
these things, like a lot of people, I feel like they don't even know, like, hey, it's okay for me to speak how I'm feeling. Like it's okay. Like I should feel
yeah,
safe to do that. And if
yeah,
I'm not safe in an environment to do so, then something else is lacking. What else is lacking, And
yeah. Then I feel
maybe
like
you're
people
not.
don't care about you.
Yeah, and then one thing leads to another, and then before you know it, there are so many mental health issues and depression and anxiety and
Yeah,
whatever else. Like if they're all like left untreated, like some things are left unsaid and people just don't know, and yeah, it causes a whole chain reaction. So I'm very excited that you did something like this today, and you're sharing these wonderful ideas and yeah, we all want to build healthy friendships and relationships.
definitely. Well, all glories to Gurmaraj for inspiring me and us on that. He was so good to
Yes.
us.
Yes. So
Yeah,
much love.
yeah. So much love and sincerity, just raw honesty. That honesty can be so powerful as well, because it comes from real love and well wishing as well when someone's like that honest with you.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you, my dear Sevika. And I
You're
guess we'll
welcome.
just cut it here. Have a good
Okay.
evening going forward.
Okay, thank you. You too. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
Hare Krishna.
Radhe.